Hey there, YouTube. I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. I think today that I'm recording this is the 17th of August, and we are just moving right along to fall. And recently, the last couple of weeks, I've been playing around working on some new recipes, and I thought today that I would do something a little bit different, just kind of share. This is just kind of a few tips here and there. This is not going to be a long video, but share some tips for creating raw vegan recipes and just learn how to do it yourself. I am not a recipe person, so when I share recipes, when I show stuff, when I do other things, you can't ask me a lot of questions because I'm not very adept in the kitchen. People are always asking me, well, can you substitute this for this? Can you do blah, 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 blah? My recipe creating power is limited, so I just kind of do what I do, but I'm going to show you what I do. Now, there's certain things I keep around the house that work in a lot of different things I make and in a lot of different recipes. Two of those things are hemp seeds and dates. Dates are a good sweetener. Dates are about the only sweetener that I use in my salad dressings. I use them in a number of salad dressing recipes that I use. And same for the hemp seeds. I like to get a little bit of extra protein in there, a little bit of those omega-3s in there. And it gives good texture. A lot of creating recipes you're going to find out is when I first started doing this, I was always trying to replicate taste, and all I thought about was taste. Never got the texture that I want. So I've just also found too that the hemp seeds give things a texture. And start when you're doing recipes, when you're creating recipes, when you're looking at other people's recipes, instead of just mindlessly like a parrot going recipe, recipe, and just looking at every recipe out there. Look at them closely. Notice, like if you notice a lot of things from people that create recipes out there, you'll see these little common ingredients. You'll say, oh, so-and-so uses that a lot. Oh, so-and-so uses that a lot. And you kind of start learning a trick. And then the next time you're doing a recipe, you're like, now if I can add this to this, that'll thicken it up just a little bit. Another great thing that doesn't really add taste, which is good because it's more neutral, but that can also add creaminess, bulk, kind of thicken up recipes, is zucchini. Zucchini is a good one to keep around a lot. Another one I keep around is tahini. Oh, I got a O-ring light over there, so it's get a little glare. But I like to use tahini in various dressings too. It's a nice, I know some people don't use it. Some people's head starts twitching at any fat out there. So if you don't use it, if you don't use any of these ingredients, just move on. Stop telling everybody about what ingredients you don't use. If there's something that I show you, God bless. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. But please don't write me 3 paragraphs telling me about the offending subject. Another one. Cashews. Cashews are really good. I like to use them for a number of things like cheese sauces, like for a sour cream. And I don't really, I can adapt certain things in the kitchen. Like when I make a sour cream, I don't have like a recipe that I make. Oh, okay, I do this much of this every time. Basically what I do is I soak my cashews, depending on however many, it just depends on how big a batch you're going to make. I soak my cashews. And after I soak them for a while, I put them in the blender, and then I'll either use one or two things. It really doesn't change, kind of giving it kind of a sour cream texture to me. I'll either use a lemon if I have one in the house, or I will use some apple cider vinegar. More than not, I'll use apple cider vinegar because it's cheaper than a lemon. Lemons are pretty expensive around here. And I'll just, put them in my Vitamix, use my tamper, use a little bit of water, and you can do different things with that, depending on how much water you use. If I use just the right amount, a little bit of water and keep pulsing it, a little bit more, keep pulsing it, I can get to kind of a thicker sour cream consistency. But sometimes I don't want it thick like sour cream. Sometimes I just want kind of like a sauce. And a lot of times when I want a sauce, I kind of want like a little cheesy or even a little bit thicker to it, so I'll add a little bit of nutritional yeast. Once again, somebody's head's exploding out there. If you don't want to use nutritional yeast, don't use it. God bless. It's all good. You don't have to. And you just start putting these things together. you know, you learn one thing and you're like, okay, if the, you remember taking those tests in school, if this, then that, logic problems. You start going, okay, if this, then that. If I did this with this dressing and it made it thick, why don't I do this with that? Simple thing I learned. I bet you I had made like a marinara sauce or some, you know, kind of a tomato sauce for zoodles. I'd probably made it half a dozen times, 20 times before I realized, if you add sun-dried tomatoes to your tomatoes, it'll hold together a little bit. It'll, you know, it'll be a little bit of a stickier consistency to it, and it'll thicken it up. Same thing with those walnuts. Soak your walnuts. You can make walnut meat out of that. It's super, super easy. Tons of things you can do with walnuts, but very simple for walnuts is you just get however many walnuts you want, you soak them, you put them in your food processor, you put a little bit of aminos in there, you put a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of liquid smoke, maybe a little bit of chili powder, and you've got some nice taco meat, or you have a topping for a salad. You can put something, you put a different spice or something in there, maybe put some cumin in there and use them for tacos. Tons and tons of possibilities. And one last thing, since this is what I'm doing a lot, let's say you're sitting there and you're saying, I sure would like a raw vegan version of this, whatever that is. Go to Google, go to YouTube, search that. Just search the name of it. Like, let's say you were looking for, just for example, tacos. Not tacos, but like, let's say a salad dressing recipe. You go in and you just search the name of the salad dressing recipe. Then you go in and you search raw vegan salad dressing recipe. Then you go do the same thing on YouTube, and you see how what it is I never see recipes that I'm like, oh, I want to make that. But I'll see like, oh, okay, I see you use some basil's a good idea, and then I'll see another one and I'm like, oh, I like that. And I just start tick, 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 tick from the things I know about creating recipes, and then I look and get other tips. And then a lot of times, even like I say, it can be heavier food that includes meat, that includes dairy, that includes whatever. And I'll just look up a recipe, you know, like lasagna. Just Google lasagna. And you look up lasagna and you look at all the ingredients. And you do that on anything you want to make a recipe for. And you just start going down the ingredients and start everything that's not something you eat, everything that's not vegan, everything that's not raw, whatever. Everything that doesn't fit up to your standards, you figure out something that you can use in its place. And another thing too, one thing I've learned making more recipes is people just tend to throw a lot of ingredients in there that really don't bring anything to the recipe. And I have people do that a lot of times here. I'll show a recipe and somebody will give me 8 more ingredients that I could add, and it may not be bad, but it's like I've kind of gone into like reducing my recipes. In fact, some of the ones that I've made, and I've made a number of times, I'll just randomly leave something out of it and see if it's any different, because, you know, why just put stuff in there that you don't really need in there. So anyhow, I'm never going to be an expert, probably. I'm never going to be the recipe guy putting out tons and tons of recipes, but I do enjoy creating for myself. And a lot of times I just don't see things out there that satisfy me totally, so I just take them, and sometimes I adapt them, and sometimes I totally recreate them. So you can do the same, but put the power in your hands. Stop like searching all over line and trying to get everybody to tell you a recipe for this and that. Make them yourself. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you like them, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you here again tomorrow, the next day. Peace.